What'd you think of that? Ah, getting somewhere. Getting somewhere. Huh. I haven't had an intro in a long time. Usually I just say bam. Bam. That's it. Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, how are you tonight? It is Tuesday night, and I suspect that you're watching election coverage. If you are a political junkie, probably on Twitter. I'm not really an election junkie, but I've gotten caught up in the elections, and I just don't know. I mean, you just get this, like, you just get used to certain things. Like, now it's every 2 years, you're just going to be harassed for months about who to vote for. And, you know, this last one here was the election was we're defending democracy. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. I don't want to be too political, but there are people running for office that are clearly unfit, like clearly unfit. But that doesn't matter because they're part of a team. They're part of a collective. And so the team rallies around the just terrible candidate. Now, this happens on both sides, but it's very fascinating to watch. Let's do one. Hopefully this isn't too vicious. Like I don't want to rip on somebody, but okay. Like say someone's had a stroke, right? And they're like having trouble. I'm not making fun of anything. They're having trouble just, getting by daily. Like, is that person fit for office? And you say, well, there could be worse. And then you go point to like some example, like what was it? Franklin Roosevelt was like near death or something in the White House. I don't know. Maybe he died in the White House. Was he one of the? I don't know. But the point is that candidate's still going to get like 40% of the vote in that state. Like, what are we doing? Like, I just don't get. I just like. Have you ever heard like our current president? Have you ever heard that he's too old to be president? I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. It doesn't. It seems like it's very odd. It seems like there's a brand that runs, not the person. Like, and so as long as you're highly allegiant to the brand, you should be fine. I watched this with like that David Freiheit, Viva Frei. He was running in Ottawa, I believe, or Montreal. Yeah, or Quebec. Sorry. Anyway, he was running and he thought he had a chance to win the election. And the guy got crushed because he wasn't part of a strong party. In the United States, we have the Republicans and Democrats. If you don't run as a Republican or a Democrat, you're probably not going to win. Is that right? I don't know. It's a very fascinating, politics is very fascinating. I'm not really interested in making this a political show. I don't think I have every political issue like set up perfectly in my mind where I have the right answer for everything. But man, it's easy to see people get caught up in this stuff. And then, like, I used to watch a lot of sports, and you want your team to win. Like we had the Rams at one point in time, and like one of the Rams players like killed a woman, like in a drunk driving accident, and it was like a woman's dead. But we still want the Rams to win on Sunday, so we don't want him to be out of the lineup. because he's on our team. Dicey. Now, I'm not accusing any of the political candidates of killing one another or killing someone. I'm just saying that it's like, wow, that team mindset kind of takes over. So, I mean, if your favorite candidate tonight doesn't win, is it okay to feel sad? Yes, I think so. But I don't think you should dwell on it too much. I mean, just in my lifetime, there's been many candidates that were going to were, how do I put it? They were going to change the American politics, the American political landscape. They were the best thing, and then they fizzle out and go away over and over again. I've even seen it tonight. I've seen some people like, this person here is destined for greatness, and it's like, I won't even remember who the person is in like 2 years. Anyway, so maybe there's some irony there. Maybe you came to my channel because you don't want to talk about politics tonight. Maybe you want to talk about real estate, but maybe you're confused as to who I am and why am I talking about real estate? Well, then I should answer that question now. My name is John Schenk. I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty. We're a small real estate firm in St. Louis, Missouri, in the county. I help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs daily. We had a listing come up today. And in my free time, which there's not nearly enough of it, I like to talk about real estate trends, residential mostly, throughout the United States, real estate topics, iBuyers, things of that nature, business, and that's what we do on my Deerwood Realty YouTube channel. If that's something you think you'd be interested in, you should probably click the subscribe button. Now, I don't ask people to subscribe every night. I don't tell people who I am every night because, I mean, I don't want to make the people that watch now bored. They know who I am. They're just wondering if I'm going to bungle the intro. And as you know, I will. But yeah, tonight we're going to talk about some things. We're going to kind of expand our horizons a little bit. We're going to talk about a football coaching hire. Some odd reactions to that. We're going to talk about, we're going to actually talk about the St. Louis real estate market because it's so odd compared to what we read about the rest of the country. We're going to talk about, there was some stuff. Let me just get the list. We're going to talk about Meta for a minute and mass layoffs and just kind of go over that a little bit more in detail. And then we have some other stuff, but I don't want to tell you about it because if I don't make it, I don't want you to be mad at me. As you know, I'm starting here at 9:00 my time. I get up kind of early in the morning. So this is like the last thing I do before I go to bed. I brush my teeth. Anyway, I think we should get into it. I don't know how we're going to go. If you like, as we go through this, if you guys have anything to put in the chat, do that. If you are watching later, put it in the comment section and we'll just go from there. All right. So the first thing I saw that I wanted to talk about today is this right here. It says, that's terrible. Can you believe I did that? I'm sorry. Here, that's better. It says Meta shares up on report it's set to begin mass layoffs. Now, I want to set this up a couple different ways. Number one, I believe it was on Instagram. It could have been TikTok. I don't know. I saw it in a number of places on Twitter, people talking about it. But there was this woman, a younger woman, that was talking about what her day is like as a developer or being on the Meta team. And like she gets up and she like does exercises and then she goes and meets with friends. It's her life is just, she goes and works out. I mean, her life is just absolutely wonderful as a 20 something or 30 something. And I think that one video set off like uh, some animosity towards Meta because I think people want to believe that employees are working hard every day for the company. So that didn't help. The next thing is I wanted to go over um, this gamble that Zuckerberg takes with the metaverse is costing shareholder value, like a lot of it. Like they're losing a fortune. That's an issue. Number three is I don't like how layoffs are being reported in the news with glee or with some sort of positive spin. And so this is a good example here. Meta shares up on report it's set to begin mass layoffs. A good thing that they're laying off people for the stockholders. Now, you can have news that's good and you can have news that's bad. People losing their jobs. I don't wish that on anyone. Um, a lot of people say, well, you can just get another job. That hasn't been my experience in life watching those around me who have chosen to go into the workforce, whereas I've just tried to be in this space of, growing my own businesses and taking chances and things of that nature. So, for me, by the way, I've had to fire people. Not a good feeling. I've had people that don't perform in the jobs they've been tasked to do. Not enjoyable at all. And then, of course, you get like other things that happen that shouldn't be work related that end up being work related. Employees fighting over political stances or social stances. It's not pleasant. So let's get into the article. Let's see what it has to say here. It says, I'm not going to mess with that. It says, shares of Facebook owner Meta rose 6.5% Monday following a Wall Street Journal report over the weekend saying the company could start mass layoffs as soon as Wednesday. That's the other thing. I don't like this idea of these mass layoffs. Like, what are you doing so wrong that you have to have mass layoffs? I mean, even over here, it says Salesforce to cut hundreds of employees Monday. Hundreds of employees, thousands of employees. To me, there can be no joy in people losing their jobs, even if it helps the stock price. It says in the first major reduction in headcount in the company's history, the layoffs could impact thousands of employees. According to the journal, the company said it had 87,000 employees at the end of September. A Meta spokesperson did not comment on the report, but pointed to CEO Mark Zuckerberg's comments Meta's earnings call last month. In 2023, we're going to focus our investments on a small number of high priority growth areas. That means some teams will grow meaningfully, but most other teams will stay flat or shrink over the next year. In aggregate, we expect to end 2023 as either roughly the same size or even a smaller organization than we are today. This is where it's fascinating to me. It says the company has seen its stock fall 72% this year as it's tried to launch a new strategy focused on building the metaverse. Its market cap now sits below 260 million. I don't want, like, what is going on here, right? Let's go to this one here. What is going on here? Zuckerberg. He's like, Facebook is not, it's not where the growth is. Okay. So he's chasing growth. And so where is that leading him? That's leading him to the metaverse. The metaverse that I've seen, I've not experienced. I don't want to rip the metaverse, but the metaverse that I've seen is basically what's that game that the kids play, Minecraft, but like a very bad version of it where you're not digging for things. The graphics suck. There's no point in being there. People are hustling you to buy like real estate. A lot of things you'll see on NBC or NBC. A lot of things you'll see on YouTube will be like, you should go buy. You if you're a real estate agent, you should become a Meta real estate agent. You should go and you should buy property on the metaverse because it's cheap. It's the next big thing, and you want to be a part of it in the ground floor. All I can say to that is I think my biggest miss in life has been the Amazon stock. And I'll tell you why I missed on it. I as soon as I found a place where you could buy stuff online, I didn't have to go to stores. I loved it. I loved it. The concept was great. They were good at it. The thing that I missed is they were never profitable. And I just feel like if you're going to have a company and you're going to invest in it, they should be profitable. But they were taking all their money and putting it back into, everything. So I missed that one. Microsoft, I was a little too young. That wouldn't have been one that I bought. And then Google, I believe it came out. It was too expensive for me to buy it when it first came out. So that wasn't going to do any good. And Facebook was, I don't know, it was like $54 a share or something when it came out. So anyway, so as Zuckerberg tries this, I mean, there's a good chance he could fail. Company could go down with it. Now, it's if you're an employee at Meta, you just saw your friends get laid off at Twitter. What are you doing? Going to Google? It's going to be fascinating. If you think about like the Ford Motor Company, like that was like an 80-year climb. Like Facebook, the idea that it could be here and gone in our lifetimes and be such a big part of, I'd say a big part of the culture. It became a big part of the culture when the election, they say, was rigged. And that Facebook was responsible for all kinds of manipulation. I don't really understand it myself. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be amazing for such a large company to just eat it within like a decade? Crazy. Now, I'm going to do that. Oh, goodness. I would like to go to this here. I did it again. Like, this is the first time I've done this multiple times, and it's happened tonight. Anyway, here we go. I want to talk about this. Feel free to come and play with me here in the chat. Jeff Saturday shocked as the rest of NFL over Colts' bizarre coaching hire. So there's a guy. His name is Jeff Saturday. He used to be like a lineman for the Colts. And he was like on ESPN as a talking head. And then all of a sudden he became the head coach of the Colts. He has no head coaching or assistant coaching or even college coaching experience. It says many saw the Frank Reich firing coming for the stumbling Colts. The decision to replace him with Jeff Saturday, not so much. Saturday, who played for the Colts over a decade, has no college or NFL coaching experience. At the time of his hire, Saturday was an ESPN analyst and a Georgia high school coach. Shocked would be an understatement, Saturday said at his introductory press conference on Monday, which was twice delayed and played out while most of the NFL was tuned in to Monday Night Football. We had a conversation that escalated quickly. Yes, me and my wife. He told me he was going to meet with general manager Chris Ballard about it. As the day progressed, we finally came to a conclusion. It was a 12-hour whirlwind. It was a late call. Going further, it says the NFL world was taken aback by the decision given the Colts legend's lack of experience and that the 47-year-old was only connected to the team as an advisor. In the strange press conference, however, owner Jim Irsay made it sound like getting Saturday was a coup for the franchise. Now, I don't know what that means. Why was the press conference strange? The owner is quoted as saying, "I'm glad he doesn't have any NFL experience. I'm glad he hasn't learned the fear that's in this league because it's tough for all of our coaches. They're afraid. They go to analytics and it gets difficult. He doesn't have all that. He doesn't have the fear, and there's no other candidate. We were fortunate he was available, and he has tons of experience. He knows this game inside and out with relationships with coaches and players. I understand that he's fully capable of doing this." Huh. It says the no other candidate comment is particularly curious given that the Colts had a former NFL coach in Gus Bradley as defensive coordinator and another in John Fox, who's an assistant. Is Bradley, who went a dismal 14-48 in 4 seasons as Jaguar coach, the future of the franchise? Probably not, but he's familiar with the players and could have helped ease the transition in the offseason. It says, furthermore, Irsay insisted there's no question GM Chris Ballard, who constructed this flawed 3-5-1 roster and is behind the rotating door of placeholder quarterbacks that has plagued the franchise, will be back next season. This guy's a winner. This guy's a winner, and he's been immensely successful. No one is perfect in this game. We can all lose a lot in this league. Do you know how many shots Michael Jordan has missed? You know how many games Michael Jordan has lost? I mean, in this league, it's tough, and sometimes you don't understand how fortunate you are when you're around success because you think that's the norm, but it's not. And he fits right into that culture. So he fits into the culture of everything's. I mean, in this league, it's tough, and sometimes you don't understand how fortunate you are when you're around success because you think that's the norm, but it's not. He fits right in the culture of knowing that it's tough sometimes, and you're not around. I don't know. It doesn't make it. I mean, I don't. If you understand it, please go ahead and put it in the chat. The hope is that Saturday can find a solution to Indy's most glaring problem, an offensive line has allowed a league high 35 sacks in 9 games. It's been one of the league's top units from 2008 through last season, but has been in flux most of the season. On Sunday, during a lifeless 26-3 loss to the Patriots, the Colts pulled right guard Matt Pryor and left tackle Dennis Kelly and replaced them with Will Fries and rookie Bernard Rainman in another attempt to improve the pass protection. We tried to hire Jeff as a coach a couple of times, and the timing didn't work out. It doesn't take long to figure out he's got leadership, a real special leadership in him. So for this 8-game stretch and where we're at, we thought it would be a very good fit for us. So that's this article. Let me see if I can pull out kind of the highlights for me. Okay, so it wasn't a surprise that the Colts fired their coach. It seems like they're firing coaches now during the season, where I don't remember that being the case. I think the Panthers also fired their coach. There was talk, and I didn't pull up that article. There was talk that this is a way to for the owner to skirt the Rooney Rule, which I believe means you have to hire, or you have to at least interview in good faith, a minority candidate anytime you have a coaching position open. That's just what I understand the rule to be. If I'm wrong, again, feel free to correct me in the chat. So I don't now he's come out and said, well, we're going to have open interviews at the end of the season. So evidently that's not an issue. But let me get back into this. So the idea is that, to me, let's go over it this week. We have an owner of a football team who's decided that he wants to hire a person that he feels has charisma, who's played the game at a high level, and that's what he wants. He owns the team. can we question the decision? Sure. I'll tell you, with the Rams, we won a Super Bowl in St. Louis. We, the Rams, the St. Louis Rams. And then we ended up hiring Jeff Fisher, the man who we'd beaten in the Super Bowl, as our coach when there were undercurrents that the Rams were leaving St. Louis. The idea was they were hiring Jeff Fisher because he's one of the most dull and boring coaches there is. Therefore, it'll just basically drive fans away. So they won't want to watch this garbage. And then when they move, they'll get a different coach and things will work out better for them. Well, what happened? That exact scenario. The exact scenario. Now, do we give so I can remember people thinking that hiring anytime, by the way, anytime, I mean, this is just for me being old. The Blues, they're a hockey team, St. Louis Blues. We once hired Mike Keenan the year after he won a Stanley Cup, and he was going to bring a Stanley Cup to St. Louis. How did that turn out? Not well. Then there was a guy named Bob Barry, I think his name was. I don't know. He didn't work out. Then there was Andy Murray. That didn't work out. What I'm trying to say is you could basically take a dart and throw it at a board and have just as good a chance of getting a good coach where everything works, you have the right players and everything comes to play, and you're going to be a good team forever. Bill Belichick has to be considered one of the best coaches in my lifetime. That guy got hired one time, I think, for the Jets, and he's like, no, I don't want this job. I got hired, but I don't want it. But if you've seen the assistant coaches that are hired off of the Patriots and Belichick, they don't seem to do that well. Does that add to his genius, or what's up with that? I don't know. All I know is that the owner should be allowed to choose who he wants to have coaching. Now, another aspect of this is there has to be, if the fans don't support the coach and the players don't support the coach, it's not going to go well. So there has to be some understanding that, hey, this could go poorly. But it could go poorly. I mean, I believe there's a guy, Todd Bowles, running around. He was coaching I think he was coaching the Arizona Cardinals at one point in time, and then he went to coach was it the Jets? I mean, there's people that they have that have been coaches. Richie Kotite. Does anybody remember that guy with the Jets? You don't have to know everything to be a bad coach in the NFL. How did Nick Saban do in the NFL? The way I remember it was he got on a plane and left like halfway through the season. Didn't tell anybody and took the job at Alabama. What should be our stance, I guess? I think you wish the guy well. I mean, the Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals hired Mike Matheny. I don't know that he'd done anything other than, be a player for us. He had that leadership that everyone looks for, that charisma. I think he just got fired as coach of the Royals. I don't know. I just think that we shouldn't be so quick to write someone off. I mean, it's not like the guy hasn't played before. He played in the league. Then there was this article here. I don't know what it's off of. It's from Kyle Brandt. Will anyone on ESPN have anything negative to say about Jeff Saturday? I'd be fascinated to hear if anybody on ESPN has something critical to say about Jeff Saturday in this case. Jeff Saturday made the nearly unprecedented move from ESPN NFL analyst to NFL head coach yesterday after being hired as the interim head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. Good Morning Football host Kyle Brandt had a problem with the hire and had a larger point about potential coverage centered around Saturday from ESPN. The story is embarrassing. I've met Jeff Saturday a few times, and he was great, and I really respect him as a player and a media member. Isn't he embarrassed to take the job, at best uncomfortable? Why is this embarrassing? It's not like they hired the janitor to coach the team. While making a larger point about the NFL's lack of diversity in its head coaching positions, Brand pointed out that the usual defense is it's not about the color of your skin, but the lack of experience or resume. He pointed out that defense isn't possible for Saturday. Now, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go in this direction, and that is the NFL is an absolute joke. The NFL is a pack of blatant liars. And that if you actually believe the diversity policy in the NFL is designed to increase diversity in the head coaching ranks, you are being suckered. You are being cheated. The NFL does nothing to benefit anyone other than the NFL. What do you say here? Because he's a high school coach and he was on ESPN and screaming on Get Up, it's an interesting media thing to do because this is an ESPN employee, and I'd be fascinated to hear if anybody on ESPN has something critical to say about Jeff Saturday in this case. Or is it, oh, we're just happy for Jeff? If I'm the Colts, I'm embarrassed yesterday. Well, you're not the Colts, and no one cares. Why is the measure ESPN has to say something negative about a hire? Like, why? What can't they just be happy? And I say that because like the media has changed for sports. Most of the time now it's like the NFL network breaks its own stories about the NFL, and then you're lucky to get it secondhand. It's not like there's this independent press, it's just not the way it is. And like, why do we need to have a balanced coverage about Jeff Saturday uh, being, getting an opportunity to coach the very bad Indianapolis Colts for 8 more games? I mean, I don't understand. It's a slow news week in sports. Now, I would like to address something that I can do it this way here. I would like to address one part of this, and it's what the owner said. And he said that, too many coaches are focused too much on the analytics. I tend to agree with that. Analytics pretty much killed baseball. Let me give you an example. I don't remember the guy's name. He was that bad of a player. But we signed him. He played for Atlanta, and I think he batted like 225. But he had these awesome extended stats. Like, I think he had like a great, was his name Jason something? Hayward? Did I get it right? Anyway, the Cardinals went all in on this guy and gave him like a 7-year contract. He was terrible. Terrible. And then we got rid of him, and then the Cubs picked him up, and he was terrible there too. But his stats, like for the extended stats, always made him look awesome. Like he was never not going to have a job. Conversely, we had when Albert Pujols started playing, okay, like he was supposed to be a minor league player for the Cardinals. He was like a third baseman at the time. and he was just hitting everything during the preseason. Somebody gets hurt and he takes over and just, you know, now, were there any stats that indicated he'd be better than any of the other players at the time? No, there was nothing there. Like, you make your own stats is my point. I don't know. I watch it though. I don't watch anything anymore, but I saw how statistics crept into sports. Like all of a sudden you just like for football, you just take a card out. And like if you're third and 8 in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go and you're down by a touchdown, you look at your little chart and then you say, well, we're not going to go for it here. We're going to punt because the statistics say that we're not going to be able to, we might get the ball back. I'm just putting things out there. I'm not being exact. And then when someone comes at you after the game because you lost, you can say, well, we thought the best chance was to do X, Y, and Z statistically. I don't know. It doesn't work. I get it. But you'll never be fired for towing the company line. And I've noticed amongst like professional coaches that, let's in one league, like you're all part of this quote unquote brotherhood. And like what you do is like say you're like playing say you're playing against a coach who's going to lose his job. There's no reason to stomp on him. He's going to lose his job anyway. You should be thrilled that he's going to lose his job because he's so bad and you're going to beat him. Like he can't win. Like that's how great it is. And you're getting a free win, which means you get to keep your job for a little while longer. And so what you say is, oh, he does a great job coaching. He's wonderful. I can't wait for him to come back next year. Knowing full well the guy's getting canned. But you're in the coaching fraternity. And so you protect this coach. And then you say, well, the X's and O's, this guy's just great. Just great. Meanwhile, they're getting blown out by 50. But anyway, I would say just if you're out there and you're trying to get somewhere, okay, it just might happen. It just might happen. Who knew that Jeff Saturday would be the coach of the Indianapolis Colts? I mean, and then you go like, what is his benchmark for success if he goes 500? Does he get to keep his job? He's got 8 games. If he goes 5-4, does he get to keep his job for next year? It's an interim tag. They're gonna interview everyone. They say at the end of the year, and then what do you do? Like, okay, just hear me out. This is the just ridiculousness of the NFL. So let's say that the guy Saturday goes 6-2, and there's an upset along there somewhere. 6-2. They've already said they're going to open up the hiring at the end of the season or the beginning of next season, and so you're a Rooney Rule candidate. Okay, you're a Rooney Rule candidate. So the guy goes 6-2. The Colts say we'd like to interview you for our head coaching position. What are you doing? See, you're in a bad spot because if you go to the interview, and that's by the way, I want to make this clear. I think it's embarrassing the way they have the Rooney Rule set up for some of these coaches. These poor guys go on like 17 interviews and they don't get the job. It's like you were just there to be a placeholder. It's very bad. But what do you do in this situation? Like if you're the candidate, you say, you're not going to hire me. The guy's 6-2. You're going to keep him. Why should I even bother going to interview? But then there's something in the back of your mind that says, if I don't interview, if I piss off someone, I might meet someone who's an assistant general manager here who might become a general manager down the road, and I might get my chance down the road somewhere else. And so I better just sit through the interview. It's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. I wish everyone the best, and I don't like the idea of kicking people. I'd be happy the guy got a job. That's where I'm at. I did it again. Man, learn from your mistakes, dude. Wanted to go to the Deerwood Realty site. Listed a new house. If you're in St. Louis, or listed a condo today, if you're looking for a nice condo, I know where you can find one. But here's why we came. The 30-year fixed. 7.21% down, 4 basis points from yesterday. It's not good enough. Not good enough. Still too expensive. Still too expensive. So, I'd like to be at 5.5. It's not going to happen. I'd like to not be at 10. Moving on. I wanted you to see this. I put this in a PDF format so you could read it. We get this as members of the St. Louis Association of Realtors every month. Now it's November the 8th, and you say, John, why is it taking you 8 days of the start of the month to get last month's housing report? Well, it's very simple. It takes a while to get all the data together because in theory, you could have a house close on the last day of the month and it not be entered for 2 more days. It could also be 4 total days because if it's Friday, you don't have to put it in for 2 business days. And so when the weekend comes, those are 2 days you don't have to put it in. Then you don't have to put it in until Tuesday or even Wednesday of the next week. The data is delayed. But I want you to see this because honestly, National Association of Realtors under the economist Lawrence Yun always does a bias to housing. Like always, okay? Always to the realtors. And it's okay because he's paid by realtors. I get it. St. Louis Association of Realtors, at least in this housing report, they do not flub the numbers. They are not out there to try and make something, positive that isn't. I dare say that in 2022, I trust them with this data. So what I wanted you to see is, look, pending sales have fallen. I don't know if you can see it yet. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. Pending sales let's just do single family residential. Pending sales have fallen 21% from 2021. Okay. That's October. It's month over month. But it didn't fall. Just understand, it didn't fall 1,421 sales. That was the number of total sales this month, down 21.4% from October of last year. Okay. The closed sales down 25%. But you have to understand pending and closed. So what's the definition of pending? Well, pending is a house that's under contract that hasn't sold yet. Normally there's about a 30 to 45 day lag. A closed sale is a sale that's actually closed. Okay. And then inventory of homes for sale. So as I've told you for more than a year, if we could just get more inventory, our prices would go down. But what's happened is there's a lower amount of inventory for sale, even from last year, down 6.1% from 2021. The whole time the housing market was going just bats crazy. The inventory was an issue. If there would have been more inventory, we could have written more contracts and we could have spaced things out. But I suspect now, and you're going to have to kind of just, I don't want to be conspiratorial, but I'm telling you that if you have a mortgage at 2% or 3% on a 30-year fixed, you're not too excited about listing your house for sale. Why would you? To go buy a house that's going to be at 7% on a 30-year fixed? 3 times more than what you're paying now for the money? That doesn't make sense. And I suspect that many of the people that had considered purchasing a new home and selling theirs looked at that even when they were in the 4s and the 3s and saying, I'm just not so sure going out there and buying a house that's now 50% over asking price. When I bought this house, I just don't see that that's a good deal for us. Then we move into the median sales price. And this is the thing that's going to surprise a lot of people in October in St. Louis. 265,000, up 6% from 2021. How can that be? I've been told the housing market has collapsed. John, I don't understand what's going on here. It hasn't collapsed in St. Louis yet. There's no question to me there are houses that are coming to the market. And it's a very easy it's a very easy mistake to make if you're a real estate agent. Your seller saw a house in their neighborhood sell for, let's say, $400,000 in July of this year, when interest rates were at like 3.5. So you go and say, well, what do you want to sell your house for? And they say $450. We want to list it for $450. $50,000 over what the last house got at $400. And you say, well, the interest rates have changed. There's no way somebody can afford that. They're like, well, look, our house is that much better than the house that's sold for $400. And so as an agent, you say, okay. And then you just sit on the house as it goes down in price. And your seller says you're an idiot. It's all your fault. If they would have hired the right agent, they would have sold their house at $450. And that's the moment you realize, like, people are not rational. Months of supply of inventory up 1.6%. Interesting. So up 6.7% from 2021. To me, that's not meaningful. And then you look at this month supply of inventory versus inventory of homes for sale. The inventory is down, but the months of inventory is up. It's not that much. 1.6 versus like 1.5 or 4. Statistically, not that much. Average days on market until sale, 26 days, even fewer days now than the 28 days in 2021. Now, you got to understand, an average of 26 days, that's still a hot market. And to me, what that's saying is people are still buying with cash. Because that's really the only way you can, I guess you could get a faster closing. With a mortgage. Some of my friends in the mortgage business probably get one done in 21 days. But you got to have everything go right. Unless you're buying in cash. But the average, though, is 26 days. Pretty amazing. I just want to make sure that I'm doing it right. I just want to make sure I'm in the right spot here. Okay. Let's go over some Twitter stuff. Everyone likes Twitter. Now, you just saw the St. Louis market for October. This is from Darth Powell. Wild shit ahead. That's what he says with this whoosh. August saw largest monthly decline in national home prices since March of 2009 per S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index. So that's where we are. Whack. This here was 2007, 2008. Whack. If you're a real estate agent like myself or just somebody interested in real estate, what do you say to that? Not good. Thought this was an interesting tweet. Rocket Mortgage reported $96 million in net income Thursday, down 93% from a year ago. 93%. Can you imagine? Other than that guy, there's a crypto bro that lost 14 million, or 14, couldn't be billion, could it? I don't know. It was like, maybe it was. He lost a lot of money today, like more than anybody ever had or something. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to that story because I'm not in the crypto space, but can you imagine being down 93% of net income? That's just crazy from a year before. I thought this was interesting. I read this Kobayashi letter. I did that on Twitter last night. It was a response from somebody else I followed, Jason Lewris. Real estate could fall much faster in Phoenix due to overeager iBuyers caught holding $1 billion in homes. And that's what I wanted to say is like, look, I'm not so sure that the iBuyers should be allowed. They're kind of being weeded out of the market now, not by their own choice, not through any sort of political wrangling. But when you have third parties holding $1 billion worth of homes in an area like a city, I mean, you don't think $1 billion is that much, but it's a lot. It could definitely influence the market. Not good. Just pointing that out. Let's move on. The New York Times, I thought this was funny, but this is not a joke. They did this on purpose. It says elections and anxiety can go hand in hand, often go hand in hand. Here's some evidence-based strategies that can help you cope. 5 ways to soothe. This is not a joke, by the way. This is not sarcasm. This is not humor. This is real. 5 ways to soothe election stress. First of all, let me just say this. Shame. Shame on the people. Shame on the politicians, the pundits, for the hyperbole that causes normal human beings to just be scared for their life if the other candidate wins. Shame. Shame. No one should feel this kind of stress. Election stress. We should be going to the polls happy. Yes, happy. We should be going there and saying, I'm so thankful I live in a country where I get to go vote, even though they screw it up and we can't really go vote because they screw up the voting on both sides. Both Republicans and Democrats can't seem to figure out how to do the voting correctly. 5 ways to soothe election stress. Well, let's look into it. Try 5-finger breathing. Trace the outside of your hand with your pointer finger. When you trace up, breathe in, and when you trace down, breathe out. Okay. So I'm going to breathe in. I'm not that stressed. I mean, I'm pretty stressed, but that didn't help. It says cool down. Plunge your face into a bowl of ice water for 15 to 30 seconds. Well, that doesn't. I wouldn't do that. I don't even like cold showers. Who does? Some people do. Move, it says. You should move. Even a walk around the block can offer some relief for an uneasy mind. Breathe like a baby. Yes. Focus on expanding your belly as you breathe, which can send more oxygen to the brain. I don't know what how a baby breathes differently than a human. I said a human. Than an adult. If you know, feel free to put it in the chat. Limit your scrolling. Consider plotting out specific times when you will look for election updates. Now, I will just say this. I have so much email that comes through my inbox. Let's just give an update for you. And I know I'm not the only one, okay? I have 10,471 unread emails in my inbox for my business. I have 25,382 in my inbox now. 2 years ago, I had 5,000 and I was trying to get rid of it. It's just gotten out of hand. I don't know what to do. I don't like it. I don't like it. But so anyway, my thought was, like I don't like. No, let me check because, oh gosh, let me check because I don't want. I have people watching the election results pretty closely and tweeting me about them, and I don't share in their interest. But anyway, I've thought that like, hey, if I check my email once in the morning, once at lunchtime, and once at dinner time, that would be enough, so that I'm not working out of my inbox all the time. Because what's happening is like somebody will send me an email, hey, I need this form. And I'll be like, well, it's at the top of my email. I'll go ahead and do it. And so I'll fill it out. Okay. And then I'll send it in. And then it's like, well, I got that done. But there were like 14 other emails from the day, from the morning earlier that I didn't get to that probably were more important than the one I just did, but at least I did something. And I'm just going to confess, I like to work in like clumps. Like, I would like to knock this clump out. I would like to, this clump out. I don't particularly like you need to do this now, you need to do that now. How long is it going to take? I like to just have things focused. And anyway, that's me. I get it. I'm not perfect. Moving on. Wolf Richter. Shares of AI-powered home flipper disruptor SPAC Open Door get annihilated. Another big investor that pulls back from the housing market. It's now a net seller. When you look at charts and they're going down instead of up, it's not good. It's not good. Now, what I would say is, I don't know, how can they be AI powered? And why would you be AI powered? That would be stupid Zillow did it, and that was dumb. I get the sentiment that people think like real estate agents are just terrible people and we're stupid and we're not worth anybody's time. I get the sentiment, okay? But if you have a good real estate agent, man, you're in good shape. You're in real good shape. Like, you're not buying the house that Open Door is selling if you have a good real estate agent, because the real estate agent's going to go to that house and say, Open Door paid that much for this pile of garbage? Holy smokes. I would never let my buyer buy something this bad. Now, if you have a crappy real estate agent, you're buying that house. Like, oh, it's in the school district we want for our kids. And then what happens is you're writing on Twitter, or Facebook, 2 months after you buy the house, you're like, this is the worst purchase we've ever made. How do we sue our real estate agent? Because this is just a disaster. I don't want to be in that situation. So I try to be pretty good at what I do. Last tweet. This is something that I wanted to, it starts out, Fannie Mae reported a net income of $2.4 billion in quarter three, down $4.7 billion in quarter two, amid a large increase in provisions for potential losses due to expectations that U.S. home prices will fall by more than previously anticipated. Now, I read the Fannie Mae press release a while back when they were saying that, house prices are going to appreciate in 2022, 5 to 7%. And I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. But, I believe the experts. I don't know why. I think we're all biased. I think there was one study that was done, a famous study that says if a person's in uniform and they talk to you, you are automatically somehow hardwired to listen to what they say and believe it to be real. Well, if someone's an expert, you believe that they're real. You believe that they somehow know more than you and they come to a better conclusion about things. And so then it says Fannie's interim chief said the company expects U.S. home prices to fall 1.9% in the second half of 2022 and 1.5% next year. That is a ridiculous estimate for what's coming. Ridiculous. You know what I haven't heard lately? I haven't heard the people that say that there's so much demand in the market that the prices are not going to go down. Those people have all seemed to go away. What is that? What is that about? Moving on, let's get to the real estate articles and news for today. It says first-time home buyers are getting older as prices rise. This is from The Hill. It's a political. I thought it was a political type. I don't know what it is anymore. Anyway, age of first-time homebuyers climbed last year while their share of the market fell to an all-time low, according to data released Thursday by the National Association of Realtors. The profile of home builders and buyers and sellers showed that the first-time buyers, whose typical age rose to 36, make up 26% of the market, down from 34% a year earlier. The last finding was not surprising, but it was as stark as young buyers face a set of affordability challenges and severely limited availability. We also know that the first-time homebuyers have to save for a down payment and closing costs in an environment of high inflation with rising rents, while still having student loan debt and being able to pay that down, as well as credit card costs or childcare expenses. All that does add up, and so saving for a down payment ends up on the back burner because you have to pay the bills that are due first before you can save. This is true. This is true. This is why inflation really, really, really hurts people. 26% of first-time buyers said saving for a down payment was the hardest part of the process, and most said they made sacrifices to afford a home, including cutting costs by foregoing entertainment expenses. It says most first-time buyers were motivated by a desire for home ownership, with around three-quarters saying they wanted to make the transition from renting. While prices rose, incomes among first-time buyers fell. First-time buyers' median household incomes were down by more than 15,000 from 86,500 a year earlier. Meanwhile, the median age of home buyers is on the rise, moving up to 53 from 45 last year. Adults between the ages of 55 and 74 accounted for the largest share of home buyers in the housing market in 2022. Isn't that an interesting statistic? That does not gel with who my clients are. NAR's data collection, that's the National Association of Realtors, collection period ended as the Federal Reserve began its aggressive effort to curb inflation, which has pushed mortgage rates near 20-year highs. Are you telling me it's not at a 20-year high now? Effective mortgage rates have jumped to 7.08% from 4.16 in March, when the Fed first began its rate hikes. They have more than doubled from their pandemic low of 2.65%. Experts expect rates to rise further following the central bank's latest interest rate increase on Wednesday. And as rates go up, housing affordability challenges will only get worse for first-time buyers, especially if overall inventory it does not pick up. The concern is that if we do not have more housing inventory that comes in the marketplace that is affordable, it's not going to offset these rates that are continuing to crunch affordability. This affordability crunch also hit black home buyers particularly hard in 2022, with black home buyers making up just 3% of the market. Lutz said a major reason for the disparity in homeownership involves how wealth is accrued. Well, this is sounding racist, explaining that black adults put a disproportionate amount of their income into rents. And so what we're seeing when we're seeing these rental costs rise at the pace they are, it's quite impossible for black home buyers to be able to enter into the marketplace. And that just means lost wealth gains over time for both black Americans and for first-time home buyers overall. You know, can I just say this? I'm not so sure that buying a house indicates a wealth gain. To me, it indicates forced savings. But I mean, I know too many people that lose their ass on housing all the time. Anyway, the new report also showed that 88% of homebuyers were white, 8% were Hispanic, Latino, and 2% were Asian Pacific Islanders. 3% identified as other. Both Black and Asian Pacific Islander groups experienced a decline in home buying. The National Association of Realtors surveyed a nationally representative sample of homebuyers who purchased a home in the 12-month period from 2021 to 2022. That's just dicey. I don't think I'm on the same page with that at all. But I do think like uh so there was a time apparently where you could buy starter homes, and these were homes that were like, not that much. And so you buy the home, and then when your family expands, you move out and buy a bigger house. I think that's pretty much gone. And then one of the questions I would have is, you know, they're talking about like we saw a tweet a couple days back where it was like there's a kind of destruction of the family, the nuclear family. There's a change in the way people live. Like there's more like cohabitation than there's ever been before. Well, is that a symptom of, or an explanation of home price being basically unaffordable for a large segment of the population, the younger population? Or are they not related at all? I don't know the answer. I just know that if you're a fellow, okay, and you don't have a house by the time you're 30, you're living with your parents, you're considered a loser. It doesn't matter if you work very, very hard at a job that doesn't pay very much. It doesn't matter if, you've never been arrested. It doesn't matter if you're not a heavy drug user. If you don't have a house by 30, people think less of you. What have and it doesn't have to be the best house, but it has to be a house. And it's saying here the average typical raise rose to 36 years old. You make it hard on people with this perception. My voice is about to give out again. Last night I had to kind of cut it short. Tonight I'm going to do the same. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I think we're making strides. I appreciate you watching. I'm going to head out tonight. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but thank you again for watching. I hope that you have a good day tomorrow. I think I'll be back at 9. I'm kind of happy with the 9 o'clock time slot because if I do show houses, I can still get back home in time to talk to you guys. I don't know about the views. I had terrible views like 2 nights ago. I had like 2 people. So that's no good. But anyway, before I cough, I'm going to try and get off the broadcast so I don't cough on the mic. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.